श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। प्रचण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभः निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्ये सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विशेषपौरोगणां विधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। व्यासम् अष्टावक्तारं शक्ते पौत्रमकल्मषं प्राशिरात्मोन्देह गदातं दभोनिधिं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिमित्कृपातमं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। नारायणपुरो व्यक्तदण्डमव्यक्तसम्भवं मुण्डस्यान्तस्तु मे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपाय मेदिनी पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कृतं पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायनं महत्त्वामनुसन्दधामि देवी भगवद्गीते पिबेद्वेषिणी अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां केदारेन्तरतश्चेतिष्पिटप्रतिष्ठात यदाच्यं गृह गृह श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमः भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. So we previously looking at eighth shloka in the Karma Yoga. So that's answering the question where in the previous shloka in the seventh Bhagavan says that the one who after controlling the uh, organs of action, the karmendriyas, controlling the karmendriyas, but mind is not controlled, that person does not attain the highest goal, human goal. But while on the other hand, the person who controls his mind and leaves, performs the actions, karmas through his karmendriyas while his mind is under control, that person attains the highest goal. That's what was said in the seventh shloka. So to respond, continuing that, we looked at in the eighth shloka, Bhagavan says, Niyatam kuru karmatvam karmajyayo karmanah hirirayatrapicha tena prasiddhet akarmanah. So you perform the obligatory duties for action because action is superior to inaction, and through inaction, even the maintenance of the body is also not possible. That's what we looked at. So we were looking at, for example, here Bhagavan was saying that you had earlier performed. Uh, the explanation for this shloka was saying that Arjuna, you perform these obligatory duties, which are those daily obligatory duties, nitya karmas, or the which one you are competent to do according to the Shastras, which the and the which are not heard of uh, as a productive results. So if it does not produce results, those ones, because from the point of view of the results, karma is superior to inaction of or non-performance of the duties. That was what said. And we also looked at Bhagavan addressing here Arjuna, once again saying that Kuru karma, do this karmas. He also said Tvam, the word Tvam, you, he addressed. You do these karmas because you are not performing them. That's why you do this. So that's why he said, and that's performing these karmas. So what is the use of this? Why should this karma itself be undertaken by a person of impure mind? Bhagavan says that through inaction, if you don't perform the actions, even the maintenance of your body will not be possible. So to maintenance of the body itself, you have to do some karmas. And why not do the karmas, which is by controlling your mind in the right way, by as your duty you should be doing. Therefore, the distinction between the karma and akarma, inaction, action and inaction is obvious in this word. That's what Sri Shankaracharya says here. What again? Because the action is certainly superior to and is more praiseworthy than inaction, in the absence of the action, it is certainly uh, certainly not that the purification of mind itself will be accomplished. Okay, so it will not be my purification of mind will not be accomplished, and but for you who will be inactive without action, if you are not performing the action, without the duty of battle and so on, the maintenance of your body, the Sharira Yatra, the maintenance of body itself is na prasiddhet. So will not be possible. Is properly, so it is possible is siddha. So siddha is achieving something, so that is possible. So it is not properly possible. So that's what Bhagavan says. So accordingly, it was said, what said here is that the words again, Bhagavan uses api and cha, and even, they are meant again combining that this body purification, mind purification, maintenance of the body with purification of mind. That's what he suggested here. Again, if Arjuna is thinking that he can do inaction, no action at all, and he can become like a sannyasi or monk, he can give up everything and just sit there and meditate, that's not his duty. That's what Bhagavan is reminding him here, because Arjuna is not eligible for sannyasa. He's not going to that sannyasa ashrama, because the Shruti clearly says that sannyasi should give up putreshana, vitteshana, lokeshana, and all those things. So putreshana having children, desire for them. Vitteshana having wealth and things. Lokeshana is having fame and all those things. So he should give up all those things, sannyasi. So who can become a sannyasi? Shruti says that Brahmana atha bhikshacharyam charanti. So Brihadaranyaka says. So Brahmanas, they go as for the bhiksha. So they go as sannyasis. So this is for the Brahmanas, and Kshatriya, he cannot become as a Kshatriya, Arjuna cannot become a sannyasi. And Smriti Vakya also says, so Chatvaraha Ashramaha Brahmanasya. So Brahmanas have 4 ashramas: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. They again can skip the from go directly to sannyasa, or have grihastha and then sannyasa, or grihastha and vanaprastha and sannyasa. So, but the order is there are 4 ashramas of Brahmana. So chatvara. But trayo rajanyasya. So 3 for kshatriyas. So they are the first 3: brahmacharya, grahastha, and vanaprastha. They are not eligible for sannyasa. And for vaishyas, it's only 2. The first 2, brahmacharya and grahastha. They are not eligible for vanaprastha or sannyasa. So that's what Smriti says. So here Bhagavan again, Krishna reminding Arjuna that you are not eligible for that sannyasa. So you cannot think of that. So you have to perform your duties. And again, as regard to your idea that the action should not be undertaken because it leads to bondage. If you think like that, that's also wrong. Because you might think that Smritis, for example, says that Mahabharata, for example, in Shanti Parva, we see that a creature becomes bound by the action. So if you perform an action, you are bound by it. So you have a bondage to it. So that's what Shanti Parva, Mahabharata, Shanti Parva says. So if that's what you are thinking, by doing action, you create bondage. That's wrong. So that bondage is whatever you're thinking is wrong. Bhagavan explains that in the next shloka. He explains that yajnartha karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So Pratipadartha, Yajnartha means for the sake of yajna, sacrifice. Karmanaha means the action. Anyatra means else. Loka means material, this world or people. Ayam means this. Karma bandha means bondage through one's work, the bondage that comes from the work. Tat means that. Here we are talking about that Paramatma Tattva. Artham, Ishvara. So Tat means Ishvara. Artham means for the sake of. Karma means action. Kaunteya is addressing Arjuna, Kunti's son. Mukta Sangha means free from attachment. Samachara means perform properly. So the man becomes bound by actions other than that action is meant for Ishvara. So if the action without being attached O son of Kunti, you perform the action for him, that is to Ishvara. So it is again, so in the second expansion of what we looked in the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga as well, where he says that you think about Vasudeva, right? So perform everything for him. So that's what here again said. So if we look at the how Acharya is explaining this shloka, so this loka in this man, the man who is eligible to perform the actions, the karmas, that man becomes bound by the actions. He becomes bound by the actions. So the karma bandha. See, karma bandha here, Shankaracharya explains as the person who has karma as his bondage. Bandhana as his bondage is karma bandha, karma bandhana. So the person who is here, he says that the man who becomes bound by the actions other than that action which is meant for Ishvara. So if one performs the action that is not meant for Ishvara, then he is bound by that action. So if he performs it meant for Ishvara, then he is not. So that's the second of the shloka. So first half says that if you perform, if you become, you will become attached or bound by these actions if you perform any action other than that is meant for Ishvara. Okay. So this is again here yajnartam. Yajna is mentioned, you are used as a word for Ishvara, and Acharya here quotes the Taittiriya Samhita, which says yajno vai Vishnu. So is that means sacrifice is certainly Vishnu. Vishnu himself is the sacrifice, yajna. He is the yajna. And again, we look in detail, for example, in various Puranas, yajna Rupi Vishnu. Right. So that's what is mentioned here. So yajna vai Vishnu. So that Shruti text, he clearly says that it is meant for yajna here, it means Ishvara, Vishnu. So whatever is done for him is yajnartam. So if you perform anything that other than that, if you perform anything other than yajnartam, anything other than for Ishvara, if you perform, that results in karma bandha. So the work which is done for his worship is yajnartam and is meant for Ishvara. This man, the man who becomes eligible, being eligible for the karmas, engages in the action other than that work which is meant for Ishvara, becomes bound by the actions, but not so by the actions done for the worship of Ishvara himself. So again, this bondage of how this bondage of this karmas work, I think I previously touched on this. So we looked at karmas results in three buckets, three classifications: Sanchita, Prarabdha, and Agami karmas. Sanchita karma is like your fixed deposit. You have a deposit there that remains. Okay, so that's something you have accumulated through many multiple births. That's accumulation of the Sanchita karma. And Prarabdha is something one that inherits in the birth. So that's one going to experience. Again, here it could be happiness, it could be sorrow. Okay, it could be either of that. So whatever one experiences, that is the Prarabdha. Sanchita is what is already there, stored. Okay, it's a warehouse. And Prarabdha is you take a little bit of that and utilize now. Okay, and there is the third one, which is called Agami karma, which is that means the ones you accumulate in this life, whether it is good or bad, virtue or sin, you accumulate, that's the Agami. Okay, so that Agami goes back to the warehouse, Sanchita karma at some point. Okay, so and then that again gets into Prarabdha in the next life. So that's what it's said here. So the Sanchita karma, so if you look at a simple analogy for this, if you look one life as somebody living entire life in a one day, okay, so every day life. So you have a bank balance, $100. That's your Sanchita karma accumulated over Okay, it could be minus 100 or plus 100, depending on what you have done in the previous lives. You could have a loan of 100 or a positive savings account of $100, whatever. Okay, so you have some sanchita karma, bank balance. That's your bank balance. Every morning you get up, that's a new birth, considered as a new birth. You get prarabdha karma, you get a spending money. Okay, that money could be negative. That means you have to earn and pay it back today. That's your grief. Or it could be happiness. So you have a positive balance given to you on the day. Okay, saying that go and enjoy. Or it could be a mixture. It might say that you spent $10, give me five back. Okay. Okay. You have to suffer for $5. So something like that. It could be prarabdha. That's prarabdha. Day, whatever you experience. But during that day, through the karmas you perform, you accumulate something. Okay, you earn money or you spend money. Okay, that's your agami. So if you earn $5, if you spend $15, whatever, okay, that's what goes back. So again, agami karma goes back to sanchita, I said, and then it gets added to the new day. Your sanchita karma, again, I'm very simply saying this, but when you go to end of birth, you one has to experience those happiness. There is a part, okay, happiness or troubles one has to go through in heaven or hell. Okay, Swarga, Naraka, one has to experience them. And again, that karma phala, the fruits of that karma, whatever that's accumulated, will be spent, okay, dissolved in those experiences in Swarga or Naraka. And also in this birth. Okay, so that's how that karma phala fruits are enjoyed. It's enjoyed in this birth or hereafter. That's hereafter when we say heaven or hell. So Naraka one suffers or heaven one enjoys. Okay, so sukha and dukkha both comes there. Then still some left, that sanchita, that becomes the carryover. A part of it goes to the next birth. Okay, now the question comes, if one accumulates, does lot of good, okay, lot of sacrifices in this birth, okay, a lot of good in this birth, okay, what happens if where that will go, what happens to that? So in that case, that person might experience them in this life itself, may not have to wait for death and heaven and then the next birth sometime experiencing all those things, might get in this birth as well. Because if you earn too much, you can't put it back to bank because bank has a limit on how much you can store. So you have to experience in this birth itself. You will be, so if you earn a lot of $1 million in the day, you can't spend, so you have to spend it. Okay, so that's what you have to do. So you majority of that you will get to spend in this life itself. Then, and again, if you look at this transaction, okay, of the karma palas through the birth continues. Okay, because you enjoy, let's say I did a lot of karma, sat karmas, good karmas, but with the desires I said I did a sacrifice, Ashwamedha, I did Vajpayee, I did all these great of things. Okay, I accumulated a lot of good positive fruits out of that. So that means I'm going to experience, let's say, some experience in this life itself. That means I was supposed to experience something else this life. Instead of that, I'm experiencing this positive effect now, right? So whatever I was supposed to experience probably will remain, that will remain the balance, that will get carried away. Okay, there is no negatives and positives becoming wiped out. Okay, that wipeout happens only one realizes Brahmajnana. When that attains, that goes into the Jnana Yoga and my purification of mind, that will come in later in Bhagavad Gita as well. So what happens to all these sins and virtues, fruits, karma, balas that are accumulated, what happens? We'll look at that later in Bhagavad Gita. But if you're, that's why karma phala, desire is not good. When one performs the karmas, desire is not good, because if you are, the moment we desire, if it becomes fruitful in this life itself, whatever I was supposed to experience in this life carries to next life. Or if I don't get experience in this life, it's still I still have to experience it at some other life. So that means the birth is guaranteed. Okay, so karma, if you do, if one performs karmas with desires, with the expectation of desires, so then it is continuous of the samsara. The only way out of this is performing for Ishvara, Yajnartham. So that's what is said here. So that's why Bhagavan says here, therefore, Mukta Sangha, without being attached, being free from attachment to the results of those actions, O Kauntaya, Kunti's son, O Kunti's son, Samachara, you perform karma, you perform those karmas, tadartam, for him. Tad here is Ishvara. So for him, you perform that actions. You are eligible for the, you who are Arjuna, you are eligible for these karmas, perform them. Achara is perform those in a right manner. So that's why samachara, samyak. Okay, samyak achara. So that's what it is. So samachara. So perform them in a right manner with shraddha and so on. Those karmas tadartam, for that Ishvara, mukta sangha, without being attached. So that's what Bhagavan says here. So now Bhagavan, in the next set of shlokas, next 4 shlokas, he explains an eligible person should engage in work for, he should engage in the karmas for multiple reasons. He explains that in the next 4 shlokas, and the words of Brahma himself are said that the person who is eligible, that is, who is impure mind, should perform the karmas. That's what's said in the next 4 shlokas, as stated by Brahma himself. That's what Bhagavan explains in the 10th shloka. Sahajnaha prajaha srishta purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavad vishyad dvamesha vostvishta kamadhuka. So in the olden days, having created the beings together with the yajna, with the sacrifice, Prajapati said, that is Brahma said, by this you multiply. Let this be your yielder of coveted objects of desire. So that's what Brahma said. So Pratipadartha here, Saha means along with, Yajna means sacrifice or Ishvara, Praja means humankind, uh, Srishtva means created, Pura means in the beginning, Uvacha means said, Prajapati means creator of all the prajas, so Brahma, Anena means by this, Prasavishya, Prasavishyadvam means increase prosperity, Esha means these, Vaha means your, Astu means shall be, Ishtakamadak means bestower of all the wishes. So all your desires. So the explanation for this, the commentary for this goes like this. In the days of old, in the beginning of the creation, having created the beings, the people of all the 3 varnas. So Shankaracharya here again says that Triyo Varnaha. Okay, he says that created those 3 varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Again, we looked at previously as well when 3rd shloka, we were looking at that Bhagavan explaining Dvenishta Maya Prokta, Pura Maya Prokta, right? So 2 Nishtas were said. And at that time as well, Shankaracharya explained that this is Nishtas are for Trivarnikanam, he said, right? So for the 3 varnas, for the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and here again he explains that this is for the 3 varnas. Created those 3 varnas together with sacrifice, together with yajna, saha yajna. So Brahma created that. So in the days of world, having created the people of 3 varnas together with the sacrifice, the creator of the beings, that is the Prajapati, Brahma said, Uvacha, he said, what he said? He said, by this sacrifice, anena means by this, that is the sacrifice, You multiply. He said, by this you multiply. Prasava means origination or growth. And you accomplish that. He says that you accomplish that. Let this sacrifice be your yielder of the coveted objects of desire. So this again, which the one that which yields, that is duk. Duk means yields. The one that yields, coveted, is ishta. Ishta means coveted. The one that yields that coveted desire. Desire is kama. So the objects of desire, the one that yields the coveted uh, objects of desire, particular results we are talking about here, that is the ishta kamaduk. Okay. So once again, having created in the days of old, in the beginning of cycle of creation, beings of three varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, who are associated with sacrifices, those who exist together with enjoined rights and duties, that is, those who are eligible for rights and duties. The Prajapati, okay, the Prati is means of creatures, sorry, the progenitor is Prati, Pati, he is the Pati, and creature is Praja. So that's why he is the uh, creator of the creatures. He said, by this, through the sacrifice, through the duties fitting your own varnas, you multiply. Through this sacrifice, through the duties, you multiply. That's what he said. And here again, prasava means growth. So the meaning is be greater and greater in number successively. How will that growth come from? Prajapati says, let this religious practice, this sacrifice be your yielder of the ishtakama, your coveted objects of desire, that which gives the desired fruit that are to one's liking, the foods, the desired foods one which one wishes for, those are the ones that will be yielded by this sacrifices, these rights and duties. So that's what Prajapati previously said. Through this sacrifice, you multiply. So he said that, and here also the sacrifice is mentioned as a suggestive of the necessary duties here. Sacrifice is mentioned as a duties because it will be stated that the evil arises from non-performance, and also there is no scope at all for kama karmas in this context. So you can't think that kama karmas are included. Here it is because they have been set aside previously, where Bhagavan said, Karmanyeva adhikaraste mapaleshu kadachana, mapaleshu kadachana, where he said, do not become the producer of results of the actions, right? So when Bhagavan said that previously, at the same time itself, kama karmas has been negated. And all the same, it is logical again to say that let this be your yielder of coveted desire, because the nitya karmas also gives in the secondary results. So previously we looked at saying that nitya karmas do not have the results, right? So they are not attached to any desires. So we perform as an obligatory duty. So, but nitya karmas also have a secondary results, even though they do not have a primary result attached to it, no karmas attached to it. Okay, they have a secondary results. That's what the, for example, Smriti Apastamba Smriti says. So it says that uh, although it gives an example, okay, where it says that although mango tree is grown for fruits, yet shade and fragrance follow as a secondary results. Okay, even though you're growing for mango tree as a for the fruit, it results gives shade and fragrance. Similarly, when righteous actions are undertaken, The riches follow as a consequence. If they do not follow, it will means no harm to righteousness. So that's what Apastamba Dharma Sutra says. So again, even if the results are to be present, the distinction between kamya karmas and the nitya karmas follow from hankering or not hankering for their results. Okay, so even if if one hankers, one desires, one attaches for those results, then it becomes kamya karma. So even if unsought for result originates from the nature of things, that makes no difference. That is, the nitya karma does not cease to be. So, nitya karma does not become a kama karma. Okay, even though it gives a secondary results. And again, that again explained later in Bhagavad Gita, and we will look at that time. Now, the question is, how does the sacrifice become the yielder of those coveted desires? How these rights and duties, when it is performed for Ishvara, becomes the yielder of those coveted Ishtakama? Uh, how does it become Ishtakama? Okay, so that's answered in the next shloka, where Bhagavan says, देवान् भावयता नेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः परमवा परमावाप्स्यथ. So you again, this is continuing of what Prajapati Brahma said. He said, you nourish the gods, devatas, with this, that is the yajnas, and let devatas nourish you. Nourishing one another, you shall attain the supreme good. So that's what the meaning of this shloka. Pratipadartha is devan, means the devatas. Bhavayata means will be pleased. Anena means by these, that is the yajna, sacrifice, that's mentioned. We looked at previously, rights and duties. Te means those, devaha means those devatas, and bhavayantu means will be pleased. Vaha means you, parasparam means one another, bhavayantaha means pleasing one another, shreyaha means prosperity, param means great, avapsyata means shall achieve, you shall achieve that. So the explanation for this is again Prajapati Brahma saying, you nourish the devatas, Indras and others with this sacrifice, with your rights and duties, and let those devatas nourish you, make you contented with rainfall and so on. Let them nourish you. So that's what it says. Thus, nourishing one another, you shall attain param. You shall attain the param shreya. So supreme good, that is called moksha. So Shankaracharya here says that shreya param moksha lakshanam jnana prati kramena avapsyata. Swargam va param shreya avapsyata. So this param shreya, he says, is the supreme good, that is called moksha, through the attainment of knowledge. Moksha lakshanam jnana prapti kramena. So that's what he says. Uh, through the attainment of that knowledge, or you shall attain the heaven, which is meant by param shreya. So that's what here param shreya means, is meant by you attain that heaven. So again, the supreme good or the param shreya here spoken as maybe either the knowledge of Brahman or as Swarga. Okay, so it is either it says as the that knowledge of Brahman or as the Swarga. The result depends upon the motive of the aspirant according to his desires, whether he desires moksha or the worldly enjoyment. In the former case, if he desires the moksha, the sacrifice, the rights and duties leads to purity of heart, his mind, and in this or in the subsequent, so it leads to that either in this birth or in the subsequent birth. and ultimately leads to that jnana of Brahman. Or if one performs these rites and duties with the desires, then it leads to Swarga. So that's what Bhagavan quotes here, what Prajapati has said. So you, the sacrificers, nourish with their shares of oblations and things like that. You satisfy the devatas, Indra and others, with these sacrifices. Let those devatas, being satisfied by you, nourish you, make you prosperous by producing the food through rainfall and so on. Thus, by nourishing one another, you and the devatas will attain the supreme good, the cherished objects, the that is, the devatas will get satisfaction, and you will attain the highest good. So here, either heaven or ultimately, if you perform that without desire, the jnana, Brahma jnana. And from the sacrifices are obtained not only the results in the other world, but also in this world. Okay, from these rights and duties, you will also obtain the results in this world as well. And that's said in the next shloka by the Prajapati himself. Again, here it goes like this: Ishtan bhogan nihi wo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha tair dat tair datta tair dattan प्रदायेभ्यो ये यो भुङ्क्ते स्तेन eva saha. So again, Prajapati continues. He says, being nourished by sacrifices, the devatas will certainly give you the coveted enjoyments, and they will. He is certainly a thief who enjoys what has been given by them without offering this to them. Okay, so the first half says that uh, you will enjoy what is given by the devatas, and if you don't give in return back to devatas, you are a thief. So pratipadartha is ishtan means desired, bhogan means necessities of life or the luxuries of the life. He means certainly, vaha means unto you, deva means the devatas, dasyante means will grant, yajna bhavitaha means satisfied by those sacrifice or the rights and duties. Taihi means by them. Dattan means things granted. Apradaya means without offering. Ebhyaha means to them. Yaha means who. Bhunkte means enjoys. Stenaha means thief. Eva means certainly. Saha means they. So that's the Pratipadartha. We'll look at the meaning in detail of this shloka next time.